Hey, this is Avinash Khadka from team number 4. So today's topic is about the changing in editing and message delivery, which is our video project. So in this video, we have mainly focused on some of the simple of editing, like adding music, different type of cards, little bit of transitions, and different type of alphabet layouts. So during these edits, my friends, other two friends, Anita and Gaurav, had helped me throughout the research and video. So this video has not much of the editing skills and other things, because these things are really new to us, and we have tried it for the first time. So
We all watch videos every day. But do you know that editing can completely change what a message means? When people laugh, when they are sad, having fun and speaking, you can see many message, but editing has its own way. So, what is editing? And what editing can deliver through the video? Let's see.
I think I died in an accident, cause this must be heaven. I gotta testify, come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die, I'ma touch the sky.
Now, we can say the same clips can tell different stories. That's how editing changes the meaning of video.
So as you can see, I have put some of my editing skills into the video, which is not much. So it is only the basic level of skills, which is only about a little bit of putting filters, adding music to the video, and putting text into the video. So these are only the simplest form of the editing. So talking about the basic level of editing, in the current period of time, there are VFX, color grading, and AI. These have taken the master of the editing. So talking about the art of editing, there is a editor whose name is Walter Murch. He is the Oscar winner award in the film editing, and he has written a book, In the Blink of an Eye, where he has mentioned the Rule of Six, a guide for the masterful film editing. So let's go through his documentary.
That's what the cut is. The cut is a blink in between two focuses of attention.
Walter Murch is one of the most respected film editors of all time, and his book, In the Blink of an Eye, is a seminal text for anyone who wants to better understand the art of editing. In this video, we'll look at Walter Murch's editing philosophy and examine why it continues to be so influential. He published In the Blink of an Eye, based on a lecture he gave about editing in Sydney, Australia. The book has since become one of the most popular books on editing ever. And in 2001, Murch released a second edition, which added a discussion of digital editing. In it, he touches on various topics that can be grouped into why cuts work, the Rule of Six, and an editor's job. Let's look at the core of Murch's editing philosophy. Why cuts work. Cuts are jumps in space, or time, and sometimes both. So, how do they avoid confusing or distracting an audience? In his book, Murch interrogates this central question in film editing. He notes that cutting as we know it today did not exist for much of early cinema.
Editing was not invented along with motion pictures. It was a number of years before somebody had the idea of putting these images together to tell a coherent story.
Eventually, filmmakers learned that two distinct images could be placed together, and audiences could not only follow it, but they could make meaning out of the juxtaposition. When this discovery was made, Murch writes, films were no longer earthbound. In other words, film's full narrative and aesthetic potential was realized with the advent of the cut. But why exactly are audiences not perturbed by a cut? The answer, Murch argues, lies in the blink. He explains that although it seems like we experience the world continuously, we actually experience cuts every time we close our eyes. When we're in conversation, for example, we blink at moments that feel natural to us. Murch argues that a blink occurs when a thought is fully formed. Writing, we entertain an idea, and we blink to separate and punctuate that idea from what follows. Similarly, in film, a shot presents us with an idea or a sequence of ideas, and the cut is a blink that separates and punctuates those ideas. Murch takes this theory even further, claiming that he uses an actor's blinks to inform how he edits. In The Conversation, for example, he found that he was cutting close to where Gene Hackman was blinking, since it subconsciously signaled that he had completed his thought.
You have to feel the moment where you're going to cut, and at the appropriate moment, over and over again, much more than chance. Within a few frames of that mark, Gene Hackman would blink. There's something going on there.
By editing with these blink points in mind, Murch argues that you also control how the audience is meant to process the information. In this way, you are blinking for the audience to underscore the ideas and emotions of the characters. And so, in Murch's theory, if the editor can find the right rhythm of a scene, they could make the entire audience blink at the same time. The opposite of this editing approach is what Murch calls the Dragnet system, named after the 50s detective show where cuts were made after each line.
It's your brother, Connie. I'll get it for you. Stay put, you. Just gonna get the phone for you. I'll take care of the phone.
This style creates a punchy rhythm of its own, but for Murch, it ignores the nuances of our everyday conversations.
Could I ask you, please, to paste your paintings into my book? I should like to have them. I should be honored.
Murch likens editing to another universal human experience, dreaming.
Movies are dreams, darling, that you never forget.
According to Murch, editing often imitates dreams, where we typically make sense out of combinations of images. As Murch writes, we accept the cut because it resembles the way images are juxtaposed in our dreams. In fact, the abruptness of the cut may be one of the key determinants in actually producing the similarity between films and dreams. In the darkness of the theater, we say to ourselves, in effect, this looks like reality. But it cannot be reality because it is so visually discontinuous. Therefore, it must be a dream. This idea can be particularly applied to editing techniques like the Kuleshov effect, where two different images are placed together and create a third, separate meaning. Murch also uses natural phenomena to influence how he edits in space. He gives us an analogy about bees and their hive. Bees are not confused if their hive is moved miles from its original location. But Murch writes, if the hive is moved 2 yards, the bees will become fatally confused. The environment does not seem different to them, so they do not reorient themselves. The same goes for editing. Cutting to a shot that is too similar to the shot before can be jarring to an audience. A good rule of thumb, therefore, is to cut to a shot where the camera is at an angle that is at least 30 degrees away from the previous shot. This is commonly known as the 30-degree rule. But Murch argues that spatial considerations should not be the primary concern of an editor.
This is the Rule of Six, created and presented by legendary film editor Walter Murch. It is one of the foremost methodologies on film editing. The Rule of Six is not 6 rules, but rather a hierarchy of criteria that distinguishes an ideal cut. A perfect cut would satisfy all of these criteria, but if you can't achieve them all, the ones at the top are the most important. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Starting at the bottom is the 3-dimensional space of action, or spatial continuity. This involves maintaining the physical reality of where people and props are in the space of the scene. Now, if you went to film school, this might be alarming to you. I know I was taught that the most important aspect of continuity editing was, continuity. But in actuality, gauging 3D space on a 2D plane is quite difficult for us to wrap our heads around, especially during edits. So as long as it's not egregiously bad, this kind of continuity often goes unnoticed by the average viewer, and therefore it's better to prioritize elements like the 2-dimensional plane of screen. This encompasses what Murch refers to as photographic grammar, including the rule of thirds, eye lines, the line of action, and so on. Now, if you went to film school, this might be alarming to you. I know the second thing I was taught was to never ever break these rules unless you wanted your cut to be incoherent and bad. But let me just check my notes here. Yeah, movies break these all the time, often to elicit a specific uneasiness or emotional response from the viewer. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Bottom line is, as long as the viewer can keep track of the action between the shots, it's not essential that you follow these, especially in favor of higher criteria like eye trace, or the location and movement of the audience attention within the frame. Eye trace is about guiding a viewer's eyes through an edit by having the action or the object of interest in the same part of the frame between shots. This reduces the friction of a cut, making it feel more coherent and effortless to watch, allowing an audience to take in the most pertinent information quickly. It's also a hallmark of popular editing techniques like the Hollywood montage and the match cut. Yes, including the one you're thinking of. Leaving behind the technical criteria, the next priority is rhythm, or the flow of a scene. Now, what rhythm is really and how to understand it is a topic for another time, but the best way to briefly and concretely understand it is as a bunch of lower order timing elements like tempo, pacing, and momentum. These help dictate a scene's energy, elevate its action, and create an overall sense of satisfaction in a cut. It's best exemplified by cutting to the beat of music. But it's present in every aspect of film, from its dialogue to its fight scene. but snappy, satisfying edits shouldn't distract from story. Now, this isn't just the plot, it's also character arcs and themes. This means every cut should advance the plot, or develop the characters, or help us understand what the story is about. That feels really obvious when I say it out loud, but films are often big, complex narrative structures with lots of plot lines and characters and ideas, and identifying a scene's narrative purpose and how to concisely convey its story elements is not always a simple nor trivial task. Unless you're aiming for a 4-hour epic that critics think is too long, it's best to let some of the footage hit the cutting room floor. But even more important than story is emotion. As great as a technically proficient, well-paced scene with a cohesive story is, chances are the viewer won't remember it in a few months' time. But they'll remember the character's joy, and their fear, and their anguish, and they'll remember how it made them feel. So every cut should be made to convey and evoke emotion. Because, at the end of the day, the way films move us is what makes them great. And the rest of it, well, the rest of it's just the details we need to accomplish that.